Welcome back to the 420 Chief podcast, where we share veteran stories of healing, raise awareness for the veteran suicide crisis, and highlight safer, healthier, real world paths to recovery. Today's episode is action packed, so don't forget to subscribe and share this one out for sure. We're joined today by Army veteran Chris McKinney. From a tough upbringing to becoming an 11B infantryman, Chris was nominated for Soldier of the Year. But behind the uniform, he was battling, like so many of us do, in silence. After being just discharged following cannabis use, Chris could have stayed stuck there. Instead, he found Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and everything changed in his life. Today, he's a world ranked competitor, multiple time high roller champion, and owner of Arte Suave Jiu Jitsu in West Virginia. This is a story of struggle, discipline, and rebuilding a life through purpose. So let's get right into it and welcome in Chris. How you doing today, brother?
What's up, guys? How are you? Thank you for having me, man.
Definitely my pleasure. After meeting you at Mission DD 420 in Virginia with so many of our other veterans and hearing your story, I was like, oh man, I got to get you on the podcast. You have such an awesome story from not just your time in service, but how you found your healing. And I think so many people, when they heard your story, just a glimpse of it, were like, hey, have you talked to Chris yet? I'm like, I will, man. I will. We'll talk. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on the podcast because we're aligned in different many ways, which we will get to. But let's start it off a little bit by let's talk about your upbringing and really the reason that you ended up joining the military in the first place.
So I grew up, as a family of five. I was the middle child. So, same middle child complex. You got the baby goes to one parent, and then the older child's favored by the other, and you're just kind of caught in the segue of it all. Um, we're just typical Appalachian poverty. We were poor. Just kind of looking for a way out. Really is the best way that I could describe it. I'll never forget, like, just growing up, as that was kind of like the general consensus. Like every day, like we'd play outside, and I don't want to act like it was always miserable because a lot of times when you are that poor and young, you don't know that you're poor. But there was thoughts of like, man, whenever I get out of here, or whenever I do these big things, so like that was it was easy for the army recruiters to be like, him, I'm gonna get him.
Right? You were like, I just want an excuse or a reason or an avenue to get the hell out of here, huh?
Well, I was like, man, they got clean clothes and nice cars. They must be rich.
Right? So when you were in high school, we talked a little bit about this. You said you did some wrestling. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. So I wrestled for Shady Spring High School and junior high, but at the time, the team was, dude, they were stacked. So like if you made it on varsity, like you were ranked like in the country. Like the dude above me was number 19th in the country at the time. Like
Wow.
so, yeah. So I got really good at wrestling. And I think that's why I'm still kind of like hungry and competing at 38 is because like I never really got my fulfilled thing. Like it's almost like I never got my time to shine. I was an amazing training partner, and I got way better training with that caliber of grapplers. But then as I got older, I felt like that I never got like a chance to showcase my skills because I was busy being a good teammate.
Right. Yeah, that halo effect
Yeah.
um, kind of burned out your light a little bit. So you said you were in a poverty stricken town. So I'm assuming that it was like that for most of the folks you went to school with in your area.
Yeah, yeah, man. It was about so like um there like anything, you got your rich section and then you got your poor kids. So about I'd say about 35% of the school was really poor and then the rest were about middle class. But in West Virginia there's not really like rich. Like they're West Virginia rich, but then when you go to California, you could take those guys, you could take a West Virginia rich and take them to California and be like, that's rich.
So I got to ask, what was it that drew you towards the Army versus the other branches?
Um, so it was like, to me, the Navy and the Air Force were like, everybody always were like, they're soft. So I was a hard ass. I couldn't do that. I didn't want to go to like the wussy side. No offense. Brethren,
I've
don't
heard
don't
worse
come.
things.
Yeah, don't come at me. But I
He
also
doesn't
didn't.
know.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't want to. I didn't want to be a Marine either, because it just that all I've ever heard is that they're just bullet cushions. So I was like, with this, I actually could like be a hard ass, but have like a job. I got
Okay.
lied to by a recruiter like the rest of us.
I've heard some pretty funny recruitment stories I know of. But so you talked to the recruiters, and let's talk about that because you were super young, right, when you joined?
Yeah, yeah. I was 17 years old, man, and I just really like they didn't even have to come find me. Like I was talking to my uncle, and we were kind of like having this debate, and he was just like, "You couldn't do that," and it pissed me off. And I was like, "Dude, yeah, I could. Like I'm a wrestler. Like basic training would be easy. I could do and nothing, And then so he basically dared me and didn't like in his mind he didn't think of nothing of it, but I took it personal, so I took off. You know what I'm saying?
Like a
I
family challenge. How fast after that conversation was it before you headed out for the Army?
like so I had to get emancipated, and so I got emancipated. I like had a conversation with my mom, and she's all like against it, and I was like, well, if you don't sign and let me get emancipated and go, then I'm just gonna wait till I'm 18 and I'll go anyway. Like you're not gonna stop me from doing what I want to do. So I got emancipated, and then 16 days after I graduated high school, I was gone.
Wow. Just like that, quick.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I I've never been one to like sit on something for long. If I make my mind up, you probably should bet on it. I guess.
I remember when we had our chat before, you originally had come in the Army to do what again?
So I came in and I was it was a 42, I think Yankee or something. The MRS numbers change all the time. It was like a chemical specialist or something. And then whenever I graduated and I went to AIT, whenever I came back to I was in the reserve unit, which was the 80th Mountain Division, which is a drill sergeant unit. So then I would have to go to PLDC, basically back through basic and all that again. And this is like where it all got kind of like wonky, because I was at home, and I like was a Soldier of the Year nominee because I was a PT stud. And really, I was just looking for direction. Like I would do whatever these dudes tell me. Like, you tell me to go die for my country, I'm like, no problem, I'll do that. But I also knew that I paid into like the tuition assistance, and I wanted to like get that back or like go to college. And they were like, no, you got to go to this training first. And then like I don't know, there was multiple instances where like I felt like that they were kind of like betraying me, so to speak. Like they didn't have my back. And then so I kind of like took it personal after that and was like, man, like they don't care about me. So I started like, which again could be my mental illness kind of thing, but I started like self medicating, with marijuana, and like, I didn't have grappling at the time, so I kind of like I almost got locked away, and I was like, man, I'm going to college like regardless of what they say or what they do. And that's how like I started going to college. Like I was like, well, if you're not gonna like pay for me to go to college, I'll just go on my own. And they're like, well, you have to come to do our thing at our schedule. We all know how it is. Like if you don't show up, you're in trouble. So I didn't show up, and they started reprimanding me or whatever. And so then like once I got like other than honorably discharged because I was smoking marijuana, and like I failed the piss test, and they. It was almost like they didn't even know who I was anymore. You know, like I went from like this promising young soldier to like we had this little disagreement, and then like I smoked weed, and they're like, you know, get out. Like we never. So whenever I left the military, man, like I remember like I gave away everything that had anything to do with that, which I regret tremendously. Like all my challenge coins that I got, um, things that I'd like worked real hard and like kind of like held close. It was on like the brotherhood, you know, like that too. Like I felt so betrayed because man, I'm loyal. Like I legit, like I'm loyal to a fault almost. So whenever I felt like that they betrayed me, man, it really like broke my heart.
Yeah, and that's you touched on something when we had chatted. The Sosa, yeah, and whoop, and that was you felt like you went for help and were told instead of getting help, you felt like you were told to just train harder, and that really stuck with me because I've heard that from so many soldiers, sailors. Like when they reach for help, it's like here, just follow our program, and it kind of pushed you off.
Well, yeah, dude. Like I again, like I felt like it fell on deaf ears. Like I wasn't. So I'm and you got to think, man. Like I'm 18, maybe 19 years old. You know, like I've left my family. I literally was like, okay, I'm gonna fight for my country. I'm gonna do this. Like, this is my family now. So I go and I'm trying to talk to these people, and they just more or less are like, hey, like keep doing for us, and like it'll all work out, you know. And it just never did. Like it was like work harder, train harder, go, you know, get better at shooting your rifle, you know this, know that, study. So and like so to be a soldier of the year, you get like this handbook that you have to study. And they were like very adamant about like just that. Like we want you to be soldier of the year and stand in front of this board, and they didn't care that like I was more or less like sinking. You know, like I'm ready to blow my brains out half the time, and you're just caring about how we look. You know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like being a prize quarterback, you know, and they're like, well, you go home and you're getting ready to blow your brains out, but they're like, no, throw another touchdown. You realize that, you know, you really don't mean shit to nobody, you know, and that as a young kid hurts your feelings.
That's a hard one. It's really hard and disgusting when leadership lets people down like that. Because rather than look at you as a person, it sounds like they're making you like the poster child, like, just stay squared away looking and didn't care for you and what you were going through on the inside. But you also had mentioned that you found alternative healing and started smoking cannabis at that point. Can you explain to us how you consumed and what that helped you out with during those times?
All right, well, yeah. This is like an amazing story. Whenever I first got out of the military, there was booze everywhere, and I was drinking all day, every day. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't able to work. I was like freaking out, getting depressed, and again, like where I'm from, you could look it up, and it's they did documentaries on like the pill epidemic here, like and that was like the thing. And most of all of like the people my age and around about my age that are like left and came back were on, they're either horrible drunks or they were strung
Yep.
out on pharmaceutical medication. But you mean to tell me that I can't ingest marijuana that doesn't hurt not only me, it's actually good for me and it doesn't hurt anyone around me, but that's illegal. But you know, you want me to be on these pills, and you know it's okay for me to have a drink because the commercials say so. And I just I kind of like it. I knew right then the truth. Like I knew immediately that there's something up here. I'm like, man, there's no way that you could be morbidly obese and you know you're taking your pills and you're drinking your beer, but I set down the pills and the beer and I smoke a little weed, and now I'm in the best shape of my life. Like I'm actually starting to find some kind of life, you know, like I'm not anxious. I'm it's but what you asked me is I smoked. I started smoking. I would smoke like a bowl. I would smoke like a joint, and it helped me sleep. It helped me have an appetite. It slowed my brain down, like my ADHD brain. Like it kind of would allow me to focus, kind of, like it would just I was able to hone in on things, So once I discovered that I was being misled by the media and everything else to be a basically a pharmaceutical consumer here, like I couldn't do it anymore, and then once I found weed, I was like, now I know now I know what Bob Marley was talking about.
Now, how did you come? So once you got out of the service, how did you find it? How did you get it there initially? Was that from a buddy, or did you go to a dispensary?
I mean, I was an old skater, man. Whenever I came home, you know how it is. Like I came home from the military and it was the thing. Dispensaries weren't like a thing back then. Like weed was illegal. Like if you got caught with a stem and a seed, you're bouncing your head off the front of a car and you're going downtown. You're huffing the devil's lettuce. But it was, I mean, it was my buddies, dude. Like we would just go out and they're just like I'd be like, man, I take this pill and I like it hurts my stomach. I can't eat. Like I'll take this one pill and I took this pill for I forget what it was called, but it made my hips hurt. Every time I would take it, and then I'm like my hips would ache, and then I would have to take a pill for the ache. And then I would be up because of the uppers that I took to make my hips hurt. And then I would take that for my hips hurting. And then I would get to bed and I'm like, man, I can't sleep. And they're like, well, here's this pill. And I'm 20, early 20s, late teens. And then they're wondering why all of West Virginia is fat and addicted to drugs and why nobody wants to exercise or do anything.
Well, it's bigger than West Virginia, bro. The
Well, yeah, I mean,
overprescription
no, I
pandemic is
definitely understand that, but I'm just speaking in the sense of like what I was seeing, like I'm like,
right.
you're wondering what the problem here is with like these people in our state, and it found it like it's not hidden.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the areas that we need to improve upon in this country for sure. And I say that because other countries have done the research and found a lot of help with cannabis. I know I did an interview with a Canadian veteran. He explained that they get prescribed and insurance covered for their veterans 2 grams of cannabis a day in Canada as a safer alternative to the medications because they know that the medications, the SSRIs, and the opiates actually increase the likelihood of suicidal ideations that so many of us are already facing already. So you
Right,
pair that with,
100%.
you like you said, the poor diet, your body isn't even biologically ready to accept these medications that are being prescribed. And then I'm actually lately I stopped calling cannabis an alternative form of healing because it's been out for around for so long, and I've talked to so many native tribes and done so much research that it's not alternative at all. It's the original form of healing. And what we're starting to see now with the rescheduling is the science is coming out about the different terpenes and the different methods of consumptions and how they're able to help folks like yourself, and in a much safer with, like you brought up, the side effects that you got, just the hip pain. There are crazy amounts of side effects associated with all of the pills, and it seems to me like almost everyone I know that goes to get help, the doctor, I think they try, but the best they can do is prescription. They have to do something, and so they feel, I think, that they have to prescribe something, and that's where we get into
Right.
this pickle. And so I'm proud of you, and I'm glad that you found your course. So let's talk about that. You had got out. You started your cannabis consumption. What happened next on your journey, Chris?
Well, so I had basically, so as soon as I got kicked out of the military, I literally was just like whatever. I got to move on with my life. So I went to um I went to Concord University, and I feel like I was searching for a brotherhood, So I joined a fraternity, and then I started like a grappling club, and I basically was skipping class to like do jujitsu or
Okay.
wrestle, Like I didn't know it was jujitsu at the time, but we'd get together and we'd wrestle. And so I found myself like skipping class to see who comes in for the other sessions so I could see if I did good. Like I was doing good with this group, but what about the group that comes in later? Would I be doing good with them too, or who would beat me in that group? And so I got caught up in that and was doing that. And I was also selling cannabis to like make ends meet and get back and forth and obviously to smoke. And my best friend at the time and jujitsu instructor was DEA. So he pulled up and pulled me over and caught me, and I was known as a grappler, known as a like a hard ass. And basically he was like, you know, this is gonna ruin your life and la 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 la, and you need to come do jujitsu. And I just blew him off. I was like, whatever, you know. Um, but the military was the first time in basic training that I heard about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And then like this incident happened and I got in trouble with the law, and I heard about jujitsu again. So I go back to college, and I'm just basically like letting all these things stack up. You know, it's like, man, like I'm getting in trouble at college for skipping class. I'm getting in trouble for selling weed, like, and I don't have a license. I'm not paying no, like I'm not paying that. I'm not doing that. I'm not, and then there's fines that come with getting booted out of the military. Like they want their stuff back. And so I was basically just going down this like rabbit hole. And so I moved back home, and the dude that had busted me had a jujitsu school, and I had like long hair, and I went in there and we grappled, and they basically like they like could like they loved me right off. They were like, we were grappling, we were like, because I trained hard, I wrestled hard. I'd come in and I would like hit him with this big slam, boom, super awesome takedown, and then they'd slap me in a triangle. Or I'd boom, I was throwing this little Mexican guy around. He's Brazilian, but at the time in my head, I'm like, man, this little Mexican guy, I'm like tossing him around. Bah, got me in an armbar. He got me in this, got me in that. And I'll never forget being like, man, that is the real deal. From that point on, I was like, that's why I love jujitsu so much. And we're in the back, and I'll never forget, like, we're sitting there like this, and I knew his face. But if you know anything about jujitsu culture, the black belts are like, they're sacred, so you're not going to talk to the dude like them beating you up is like a pleasure and honor, because you can learn so much. And he just like really had taken a liking to me. And I'll never forget that I was sitting there like this, and I like look up, and I'm like we seen each other, because I pulled my hair up like this, and I was dying. I was like, and like I seen him and he seen me, and we recognized each other, and we were like, and he was like, you, and it had been years, and I was like, better late than never, right, man? And he was like, "Oh my God, like, are you serious?" And then for that was that. Like I trained every day. Like I would sleep at the gym. If I couldn't afford it, I would if I couldn't afford the tuition, I would like work at the gym. I would sweep I didn't care. If I had money, I didn't care. I had jujitsu, and then the dudes in jujitsu smoked weed. So I'm like, dude, there's all these fit guys that work their asses off. Like, they're the toughest dudes that like ever. Like, even tougher than the dudes when I was in the army. And I was just like, man, this is amazing. Because after they mutilate each other all day, they go back here in this back room and they burn down. And I was like, dude, they get it. They understand. Like, they're not going to judge me. They're not going to. And then, like, as you get to know them, you realize that everybody else is kind of from a similar background. And we're all finding this, like, sanctuary in jujitsu, in, like, working and in cannabis. Because let's face it, God doesn't make mistakes, guys. Like, you're not going to find a better pharmaceutical medicine that some man made up that's going to do better than what is already here. I truly believe that our Lord and Savior created everything that we need right here, right now. We just have to go out in nature and find.
Amen. I agree 100%. And you covered a lot of very important topics there, but a huge one was finding your people, finding your tribe. And for you, you found something that you were willing to live all in. You said you were at the gym every day if you couldn't afford it. You were working there, you were living there. Bro, that's all in. And I'm so proud of you for finding the thing in your life that you could risk it all and go all in on to be authentically you. And then to find the matching energy of those comrades, that you may not have even had in the military, that didn't keep in touch or didn't offer you help. You found your brotherhood there in the sport. And I love that you mentioned the fact that they were open to cannabis consumption. And one of the things that you had said to me the first time we talked after DD 420 was, I'll never forget this, I'm coining it. You said cannabis and jiu-jitsu go together like peanut butter and jelly. Can
Dude,
you talk? Can you explain that a little bit better so that our listeners can kind of get an understanding of what you mean by that? Because that's beautifully said.
yeah. First I'll say this: a lot of those dudes that do jujitsu, right? And a lot of service members, do jujitsu. So a lot of those dudes were also ex-military too. So it helped in my guidance. I didn't feel like such a failure or a loser, because whenever I got the boot of something that you try so hard at, you're just like, my life's over. What am I gonna do? Um, but so the way like peanut butter and jelly, like, so jujitsu is an amazing art, and it's so intense, man. Like it can be like, it can be literally like, but the most beautiful thing about jujitsu is it's so smooth. Like you can take someone's aggression and turn it into, like, it looks like this,
This flow.
nice smooth back and forth flow, right? So when in your mind, when you're not panicking, and when you're new to jujitsu, you're gonna fucking panic. You know what I'm saying? Like, a dude's on you, like this big dude, he's all like, like breathing on you, I'm gonna choke your ass, and you're like on the ground, and you're like, man, I don't know what's going on. This guy was my friend 2 seconds ago, and now he's like literally just trying to kill me. And they're all, and like he's choking you, and you don't know what to do, and you're hearing your coach be like, tap your buddy if it hurts, and you're like, right. So you smoke a little bit of cannabis, and then all of a sudden the guy's on you, and it's not like this. It's like, man, I need my frames. I need to shrimp. I can't be flat. I gotta have my head up. I gotta have my elbows in. And then it starts moving like shoo, shoo, shoo. And you find that incredible thing that is so amazing about jujitsu. You find that little, and that's my favorite roles. They're the roles that they, like, you'll watch me and some of the other high level guys and some of my buddies will be flow. We call it flow rolling, right? And you can literally go like for 5-10 minutes and never stop moving, because it's one position into a submission, into a defense, into a advancement, into a recover. It's just so dynamic that it goes into one, and it's with the marijuana that's like slowing down that intensity. It's almost like you're both have that spider sense. Like if you and your buddy both, like, you find that connection, and you're just, and even competing, man. Like when I did the high rollers, it's, we would smoke cannabis together and then try to kill each other, but we were so interlocked, like mentally, almost on, not like, we're obviously fighting here, but there's something going on around us. There's like an energy that we're also intertwined in, and
Right.
it's the same as surfing. It's nature. Jiu-jitsu is primal. Like there's no tools, there's no nothing. It's you and you, just skin on skin death. Like, it's, if we didn't have weapons, that would be war.
Right. It is very primal, I will say that, and close, intimate. And you talked I want to talk a little bit about some of your competitive journey. You mentioned high rollers, but let's back it up. You want to talk about one of the first competitions you entered? Let's talk about that journey for a little bit, because that takes a lot of work. And then, yeah, let's start there.
Um, yeah. So I actually assume it was probably. I think I trained probably like 3 months, and I took my first competition. I started, like, I went straight into a jujitsu competition. It was states, and I won, but it was like that like being locked in that was just to me like a feeling that I couldn't like get away from. Like I was just I started competing every weekend. I would do jujitsu wherever. I would do like they call them like smokers, So
Yeah.
I would be like competing, and then like somebody would call me up to like spar, and I would go do that. And then as like the years would go by, I got a car, and then I started like living in my car and traveling, and basically like if once my professor like the gym like my professor kind of moved away and I was just like, man, if he's not here, I'm not here. So I left, and I was chasing the best training that I could find, and I got signed by this guy who was I was a champion under their fighting promotion. It was the NFC, and he was based out of Logan, Ohio. Sean North. He was my manager and just like a real good friend of mine, and he was also the promoter of the NFC where I was a MMA champion. And dude, he would set stuff up every weekend. Like I remember, I like won a fight in 26 seconds, and so the next weekend after that, or like a couple, maybe 2 weeks after that, I was in another fight, but I was like a weight class up, so I didn't, like, and then it was just constant, and I loved it because I was just too busy to like do anything else. I was too busy to like to be sad, to be depressed, to think about anything. Like I was just living the life, competing.
Training, competing,
Yeah,
living in the car. Um,
yeah. And
how
my
did
buddies would give me cannabis. I remember my buddy. He's a grower now out of Circleville, Ohio. Shout out Kelly Tool, Mister Nugs. He would give me his roaches. So he's like an old head. So his roaches were like that big.
Nice.
So he would give me like this bag of like these giant roaches that he would never even care about. So I would just sit in my car, sleeping in the back, dreaming of like success. Eating. It was like canned pickles. Like I ate food that like whatever people would give me is like beef jerky, cucumbers, canned pickles. I remember eating like tomato sauce one time. It was like all I had was like a chunky tomato sauce.
That's rough, man. A lot of people don't realize how
It's crazy that you say that's
simple it
rough
is.
because listen, thinking about it back then, I'm like, dude, I was having a fucking blast. Like, dude, no kids, no responsibilities, no bills. I had a '97 Nissan Sentra. The speedometer thing quit working at like 290 some thousand miles. Dude, it was just an old bucket, and I like drew all over it, had stickers all over it. I was living the dream.
I love
I
it. When did let's talk, Chris? How did you start getting into master level competition?
well, yeah. So like as you start competing and like going through the ranks, um, it just it like the competition just kept going up and up and up, and like I walked through like amateur, but then I didn't have like guidance once I like went pro, so it was really hard and difficult for me to be like alone. And again, like I fell into depression. My instructor just was kind of more concerned about like getting girls and clout, so I was just it kind of ruined me. And again, like I was trying to like not smoke cannabis and do what was right. 2017, a year before my son was born, and 2 years before I started my academy, I loaded up on Xanaxes. Right, like my dog had just died. I was fighting for the CFFC. I took a short notice fight. It was my shot at the UFC. I was finally about to do it, and 5 days before I'm leaving, I'm cutting weight, and my dog gets hit, and my dog was like my best friend. Like I wasn't close to my family and stuff. So when he died, like I'm telling you, it might as well have been like my parent or something. It ruined me, brother. It ruined me. And so I went to that fight, and I remember like the guy that was like ahead of the gym at the time. I'm not gonna name drop because he don't deserve the clout. But he was basically like, oh, he wouldn't train. Like I was like, man, I got this big fight. We need, like, I need guys. We need to get together and train. And he just wouldn't train. But when the cameras would show up, like to do the behind the scenes stuff for all that, he was always there. Like he's always there to be on TV for the show, but he's not like there for the grind, for the work, you know. And again, like that was, it just kind of messed me up. And I'll never forget this to this day, where I'm about to walk into the cage, the biggest fight of my career. And the crowd, like I was fighting a hometown guy and the crowd's like booing me or whatever. And I knew just that I was light years ahead of this guy. Like I literally, if we fought right now, I would beat the piss out of him, like easy. Still to this day, right now, he was not on my level. But the last thing I said to the guy as he's greasing me up was that I miss my dog. Like biggest fight, like you're on pay per view. There's fans, there's crowd, and they're putting the grease on your face, and you're about to walk into the cage, and this guy's gonna kill you. I just being like, man, I miss my dog, and I go in there and I lose that, and I'm obviously not getting in the UFC. I'm not getting any phone calls. I'm not doing the interviews. The media is gone. All of a sudden, man, like again, it's just like when I got, you know, out of the army. Nobody cares about Chris anymore. Like he lost it. He's you know, nobody cares anymore. There's no, the media's gone. It's just, it just sucked. It was real lonely. So I loaded up my handful of Xanaxes. I ate them, and I had this like really fast car at the time, and I just shot it off of this like ravine and like into a guardrail. And I'll never forget like the police pulling up, and um they sent me to the hospital, and they asked me like what I was trying to do or whatever, and I broke down immediately. I was like, I don't want to live anymore. I was trying to kill myself. Like I, you know, I hate my life. Like it was, and it just, and then like it just was the, I don't know, it was the worst feeling. Like I almost cried just now thinking about it. It was just a real dark, horrible time, you know, to like, it's our initial like instinct is to survive. So when a man like takes that from himself and he wants to kill himself, like that's something beyond your control at that point. Like you kind of like let it go. Like you need,
You let it go too far. Yeah.
yeah, you need help. You need to reassess. And
Reset.
yeah, and I'll never forget. Like I was you know, I was sitting in that hospital and I told him that. And I went home. And so I'm going to segue back to this, but the lady I was with, I ended up having a baby. And, you know, my son is about to be born. And I ended up getting in like an accident or whatever, a fender bender. And there's a warrant out for my arrest. It's almost a year to the day. It's like, so I did that. It was like December 17th. My son was born December 21st the following year. So I got picked up, I think it was like December 11th, and went to jail. And I got out on December 17th because I had warrants from that incident that I never taken care of or whatever. So, so then I get out of jail, and I like pull up my thing or whatever, and my Facebook, and this guy had like messaged me, and he was like, "Hey man, I was in the hospital bed next to you," and he was like, "You don't know this, but I've been your fan for years. I've watched you fight and da 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 da." And he was literally like, he was like, "If you, you know, if you ever need anything, reach out." And I was just like, "Man, this guy don't know me other than this." So I looked on his Facebook, and he's dead. And he's obviously a druggie, and he had overdosed. And I was just like, man, like I could have probably done something. And so my son's on the way. I don't know what to do. And so then I like start talking to my instructor, and he's basically like, man, I'm leaving. I don't want to do the jujitsu thing anymore. So he like pushes me to get like an LLC and to start my own academy and rebrand. So that's what I did. I rebranded. I was like, I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna create the kind of jujitsu that's like the old school jujitsu, the hard nosed jujitsu. We're not watering it down. We're not being politically correct. I'm gonna create the brotherhood that I miss. You know, I'm gonna create the like. I mean, you seen me and Chance, dude. We hadn't seen each other in 20 years, and I've seen him, and I ran like a little Laura Ingalls across that little field to give that man a hug. Full grown ass man, just double hug, bunny to bunny, nip to nip,
Yep.
just like like we never. It was like we never missed, man. And so that whenever I wanted to create my academy, like I wanted to create like a family and a brotherhood, and I knew that I could be the leader that I needed for these people, like, and I felt like that God was calling me to do that. And then once I gave my life to God and I started just, like the moniker, I tell my students every day after training, you put God first, you work on yourself every day, and just bust your ass at everything you touch. Like those are the three recipes for like moving forward, regardless. Like you just move forward, and I ended up rededicating my life to God, and like obviously using cannabis to heal myself. And I'm currently, man, like I'm a great father. I own a business. I motivate people here. Um, I just cannabis has literally helped me reel in the crazy. Like it's a jujitsu cannabis community going to the DD 420. Like there's no way that any law, regardless of what it says, could see that and say that it's bad. And
And
if
they
you
still
see,
do.
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And if you see that and you think that it's bad, or you see somebody smoking and you're like, oh, that, this, that, or the third, like you're the problem. You're the one that needs educated. It's not them.
It's definitely stigmatized. And on that note, let's talk a little bit about the event High Rollers. I know that you've competed, you said 4 times in that event. Can you tell our listeners what that event's about, like why they have that, and then your experience at it and the 4 different times you competed in that event?
Yeah, so High Rollers is an event that they put on. It's invite only in Las Vegas, and it's a cannabis friendly event. And it's they do it for multiple, like they do it for law enforcement, they do it for multiple charities, breast cancer, just all multiple things. But they do one especially called the War Games, where like you versus, like I had to go up against a Marine one time, and then another Army guy, and like, but it's a get together where you break the stigma of marijuana, and you raise awareness about, like, more or less about the pharmaceutical companies and everybody trying to dope us out and kill us off. They want to. That's what they want, folks. They don't want you out here doing jujitsu and getting healthy. They don't want you smoking cannabis and getting healthy and thriving. They want to create a customer. And the suicide rates from that are just like it should be. It shouldn't be ignored. Like it should be brought to the surface here. Like there's no
It's a
reason.
crisis. We need more people talking about it. We need more people taking action to stop it from happening.
Well, we
So,
need we need people like me and like you that's like, hey, stop talking shit about me because I smoke weed instead of taking a pill. There's You could shove McDonald's in your face for 7 days a week and you're gonna die soon. If I shove marijuana in my face, I'm gonna eat soon. Like
right.
it's not the same. I could drink alcohol, and if I drink too much and I drive a car, I'm probably going to kill myself or someone else, or I'm going to go home and I'm going to make a mistake and beat the shit out of my wife or my dog. If I smoke marijuana, I'm going to stop 50 feet way before I should probably. I'm going to be extra cautious. I'm hitting my blinker. I'm going to go home and I'm going to hug my dog. I'm going to be like, hey, it's not that big of a deal, guys. Like, there's the stigma. They're like, that's what we need. That's what needs done. We need to break the stigma of marijuana, and we need to go against the pharmaceuticals and the alcohol and the fast foods and treat those like the drugs
I,
because
I
they
agree. And I
are.
want to thank
They
you
are.
for telling your story, for competing in events and supporting events like that. are how we raise awareness. That's how we break the stigma. And you are a prime example of someone who's showing the stigma broken. Like, if you smoke cannabis, you're not going to just be a couch lock junkie that's not doing anything all day. Like, you told me, like, you want to break down your schedule of events for the day for our listeners so they can hear how you intentionally consume cannabis as a part of your regimen.
Yeah, yeah. So it's I mean it's literally like a necessity for me to heal. Otherwise I won't. I have I work at a 24-hour gym. So I'll wake up in the morning and I'll microdose cannabis. I'll take my vitamins and my supplements. I'll get myself ready. I'll get my son ready. I'm driving through the parent drop off line, right? I'll get to the gym. I'll take my ginger and my turmeric shot. I'll do my workout, right? Then I'll come outside and then I'll microdose and just basically sit in the sun and soak up vitamin D. Um, Stretch, go back in, stretch, recover, take care of whoever, whatever needs done there. And then come 5 o'clock, I've got the kids class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or I've got an MMA class at 5:30, and then I have a class at 6:30 every day of the week after that. On Saturdays, we have adults at 10:30, and then the kids class from 12 to noon. Sundays, I have foundations at 9, and then I've got church after that, and then after church we all go out to a lunch. I usually invite my team out to lunch, and then we try to have like an open mat around like 2 or 3. Just
Love it.
another lazy pothead, folks.
Right? That's a lot more than I have on a day. If I don't have it all planned out, I can get stuck. So I love your intentional schedule. So we talked a little bit about high rollers. You told me you competed 4 times, broken ribs the first time, placed third the second, won a couple of times. Outside of that, you want to talk a little bit about where you've ranked to date in world class of jiu-jitsu and where you're going next and would like to be next.
Well, so my girlfriend won worlds last year, and me and a couple others of the team, we finished like top 20 or top 30. But like once that's over, the rank starts over with the new year. Um, I haven't checked the rankings. I don't know what I stack up, but my goal is to be a world champion. Like, I don't go out there with any second guesses. Like, I believe that I'll place probably top 5 this year, easy. Like, I'm intentionally working at this. There's no doubt in my mind my girlfriend will win it again. She literally submitted everybody through worlds last year. She has a great coach though. It's me. I'm excited.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. And just for those that want to follow along, the World Class Jiu Jitsu, what's that called so they can Google?
So it's IBJJF. It's Master Worlds, and it's in Las Vegas. It's gonna be, I think, September 3rd through like the 6th or the 7th, something like that. Um, the IBJJF, the International Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Federation, it gets a lot of haters, but it's still one of the most prestigious and respectable jiu jitsu competition platforms. They have a Hall of Fame, and some of the greatest jiu-jitsu competitors to ever touch a mat are in the Hall of Fames and have competed, and they show up at those things too. So it's amazing. It's literally the moniker of like you work until your idols become your rivals, and like the last year I was standing in a bullpen, and these guys are in my bracket with Demetrius Johnson with Mighty Mouse. He's like
Yeah.
right there, right beside
Wow.
me in the same bracket. And if I would have grappled him, I'd have strangled him unconscious. Not because I don't like him, just because I think that I'm a better jujitsu competitor than he is. Um, he beat me in MMA though. I'll give him that. But jujitsu is my world.
He can throw
Um,
hands.
Yeah, AJ Agazarm was in my weight class, and I made it further than both of those guys last year. So just being there and doing that and competing well gave me confidence. I see now that I can do this. I can not only can I coach a world champion, but I could be a world champion. And I believe that you know it's in God's will for me to do that. Like, I think that that's why everything aligned for me to be able to train multiple times a day, all day. Um, I mean, I'm 38, but I don't feel it. I feel I feel locked in. I feel young. I feel hungry, and I feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Right on, Chris. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and thank you for what you continue to do, with your training, because it really does help change lives, help save lives. I know that especially in MMA or any type of martial arts, the discipline that comes from that and the camaraderie that you can build, like you talked about just there in your gym, is something that so many folks um, are are missing out on. Like you talked about, missing out on that group of people that cared about your best interest throughout
But
your life. So thank you so
our
much for providing that.
Yeah, listen, our kids class is huge, and I'm like very strict on them. Like I'm like so much so that their parents will literally threaten them. Like I'll call Chris right now, and every time I walk in that door, those kids hug me. You know what I mean? They're not like, oh, here comes the black belt asshole. They're like, oh, Chris, and I'm like, and if I correct them, it's first and foremost is like, hey, I love you, but I expect way more than you. I know what you're capable of, and this ain't it. And like, but then the next thing is like, hey, get your ass over there and get together. I'm gonna bust your ass like it's 1958.
That's right. I love it.
And the kids love it, dude. My kids program is huge. I offer the Hope Scholarship for kids like that are homeschooled or that have learning disabilities that can't afford it. Like, again, I tell everybody this: I'm not in jujitsu to get rich. I've got mouths to feed. I've got a son and I've got a family, but I absolutely will do whatever I can to get the word out. Like I'm about being I want to be a spokesperson about jujitsu, about mental health, about cannabis. I will rise up against this. I've been an activist and a spokesperson for active cannabis use, even even since before it was legal. I've done jail time for it. I've done, I've argued till I was blue in the face with people. And the facts don't care about your feelings, folks.
Well, I love it. And I want to say, more important than anything, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. And for those that want to find out more about you or more about your business, where can they find you?
So you can follow me on Instagram, the Black Belt Irish Gypsy. I'm on Facebook, Chris McKinney MMA. I have a Arte Suave Jiu Jitsu Academy Facebook page. We're all pretty active on there. It's The response time is almost immediately. I have a few people that work the Arte Suave page, so like you're not gonna get a robot answer. If you boom on there, there's 3 to 5 people that are gonna literally comment back, and it's somebody that I love dear and have put in that position that knows exactly how like we at Arte Suave would respond.
Right on. And just what message would you like to leave with any of our listeners today, just from Chris? What bit of life advice would you like to leave them with today?
Um, Well, if you're going through a rough time now, one foot in front of the other, lean on God and just keep moving, right? Like you can't die as long as you can't sink, you can't settle. You got to just keep wiggling, even if it's just a little bit. The best thing that I've ever done in my life is that I've given my life to Jesus Christ, and I've turned that over and understood that. And whenever I feel lost, I lean on Him. Um, Put God first, work on yourself, and then bust your ass at everything. And don't take the pills, don't take the booze, don't take the fast food. Eat right, smoke weed.
Amen. Well, I thank you so much once again, Chris. I'll put you backstage and close us out, and I'll be right back. And huge respect to Chris for sharing his story and reminding us what resilience looks like, turning struggle into discipline and discipline into purpose, not just for himself, but in his own family, in his own circle. If this episode resonates with you in any way, don't keep it to yourself. Share it out. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when we go live, and send it to somebody. You never know who needs to hear the message today. And something that Chris touched on and my brother Hooley says is tell your buddies you love them. Share this out. Say love you. Thought you should hear it. And as always, this platform exists to break stigmas, to raise awareness, and to remind people that you're never really alone. So until next time,